Haewon woke up screaming. Her roommate Minna rushed over with a glass of water. Another nightmare? Haewon nodded, hands shaking. This was the 5th night in a row. But these weren't normal nightmares. She saw things. Impossible geometric shapes. Colors that didn't exist. Voices speaking in languages she'd never heard but somehow understood. And always, there was a sense of something vast watching her. You should see a doctor, Minna said, concern clear in her voice. I did. Yesterday, they said I'm fine, probably just stress from exams. But Haewon knew it wasn't stress. Something was changing inside her. She could feel it. Like a door slowly opening in her mind. 200 kilometers above Earth on the Lunar Research Station. Alarms blared. Taehyun ran into the main lab where Vekthar was frantically working at multiple screens. What's happening? The sequence, Vekthar said, her compound eyes wide. It's responding. Responding to what? To our scans. Every time we probe human genetic samples, the sequence shows activity. It's reacting to our equipment. Taehyun felt ice in his stomach. You mean we've been triggering it? Yes, and not just in the samples. We're detecting similar activity patterns in human populations near our scanning sites on Earth. Commander Jiwoo appeared in the doorway, her military uniform crisp despite the early hour. We need to talk now. They moved to a secure briefing room. Jiwoo pulled up a holographic display showing a map of Earth with red dots appearing in clusters. These are reported medical anomalies in the last 2 weeks. Unexplained symptoms. Headaches, vision problems, seizures, all within 10 kilometers of Quorum research sites. How many cases? Taehyun asked. 157 confirmed. Probably more unreported. Vekthar made a distressed clicking sound. We have been activating it. Inadvertently, but still. We must stop all genetic research immediately. It might be too late for that, Jiwoo said grimly. She pulled up another file. We have a situation in Busan. A university student named Haewon. Last night she had a seizure. When she woke up, she could access the university's computer network. With her mind. That's impossible, Taehyun said. There's security footage. I'll show you. The video played. A young woman sat in a computer lab alone. She looked sick, pale, holding her head. Then suddenly her eyes opened wide, glowing faintly. Every computer in the room turned on at once. Screens filled with code scrolling faster than any human could type. The girl's nose started bleeding. She screamed and collapsed. The computers all shut down simultaneously. Where is she now? Taehyun asked quietly. Hospital. Sedated. We need to bring her here. Before anyone could respond, a new presence entered the room. Not physically. Taehyun couldn't explain it. But suddenly there was someone else there. Someone made of light and energy hovering near the ceiling. Vekthar dropped into a defensive posture. Jiwoo reached for her weapon. The presence spoke directly into their minds, bypassing language entirely. I am Luminari. I have been waiting for this moment. What are you? Jiwoo demanded. Weapon still raised, though it would be useless against this entity. The last of my kind. The only one who remembers the architects. The architects? Taehyun's voice cracked. The ones who put the sequence in human DNA? Yes, they seeded many worlds, preparing species for ascension. But every attempt has failed. Every species that activated the sequence destroyed itself within 50 years. Then why are you here? Vekthar asked. Why not stop us? Because it is too late. The sequence has awakened. The girl you spoke of is only the first. More will follow. The process cannot be stopped, only guided. The lights in the room flickered. Luminari's form became less stable. I must conserve energy. But know this, the sequence is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to prepare you for war. A war against something your species cannot yet perceive. War against what? Jiwoo asked. The Devourers. Entities that exist between dimensions, feeding on consciousness. The architects fought them for eons. Before they transcended, they created weapons. You are those weapons. And then Luminari was gone, leaving only the faint smell of ozone. The three of them stood in stunned silence. Finally, Taehyun spoke. We need to get that girl here immediately. If she's going through the activation, we need to study it, understand it. And if she's dangerous? Jiwoo asked. Then we contain her. But we need her alive. She might be the key to understanding this. 6 hours later, Haewon arrived at the station under heavy sedation. They placed her in a medical isolation unit with monitoring equipment covering every surface. Taehyun watched through the observation window as her vital signs danced across the screens. Her brain activity is off the charts, one of the medical technicians reported. I've never seen anything like this. Reduce the sedation, Taehyun ordered slowly. I need her conscious so we can talk to her. As the drugs wore off, Haewon's eyes opened. They glowed softly like embers. She looked around the room, taking in the equipment, the monitoring devices, the observation window. Then her gaze fixed on Taehyun, and he felt her looking through him, past his body, into something deeper. I know why I'm here, she said. Her voice strange, layered with harmonics that shouldn't exist. I can feel it inside me. Growing, changing, something ancient waking up. We're here to help you, Taehyun said through the intercom. No, you're here to study me. It's okay, I understand. I would do the same. She sat up and the restraints snapped open without her touching them. Alarms blared. Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you. I just need to not be tied down. It makes the voices louder. What voices? The ones in the walls? In the space between spaces. They're calling me. Calling all of us. She pressed her hands against her temples. It hurts. But it's also beautiful. I can see so much now. Too much. Haewon, I need you to stay calm. We're going to run some tests. She laughed and it sounded like wind chimes. Tests won't help. This isn't a disease, doctor. It's an upgrade. We're becoming what we were always meant to be. Then her expression changed. Fear flooded her features. But they don't want us to become this. The ones in the dark. The hungry ones. They're already here, watching, waiting. And when we fully awaken, they'll come, her eyes rolled back. Seizure warnings screamed across the monitors. Taehyun rushed into the isolation unit, medical training overriding fear. But Haewon wasn't having a seizure. She was somewhere else, her consciousness expanding beyond her body, touching something vast and terrible. When she finally returned to herself, tears streamed down her face. They showed me, she whispered. The architects, the war, why we were made. We're not evolution's next step. We're weapons. Living weapons against things that shouldn't exist. Taehyun held her as she sobbed. Outside the isolation unit, Jiwoo watched with growing dread. Vekthar stood beside her, compound eyes reflecting the harsh lights. My people will not accept this, Vekthar said quietly. When they learn humans are activating into weapons, they will demand action. What kind of action? Quarantine. Or worse, Jiwoo's jaw tightened. Then we have a problem, because I won't let anyone harm my people. It may not be your choice, Vekthar said sadly. My government has already dispatched Commander Thren. He will arrive within a week, and he will not be as understanding as I am. Dr. Taehyun pressed his palm against the cold window of the shuttle, watching Earth shrink below him. 3 months ago, he never imagined he would be traveling to a lunar research station. 3 months ago, aliens were just stories. Now they were real and they wanted to talk about human genetics. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. Taehyun gathered his tablet and stepped into the station's white corridors. Everything smelled like recycled air and metal. A tall figure waited at the end of the hallway. Not human. The alien's body reminded him of a praying mantis, but larger, with skin that shimmered like oil on water. 4 compound eyes focused on him. Dr. Taehyun, the alien spoke through a translation device hanging around what passed for a neck. I am Vekthar. Thank you for coming. Taehyun bowed slightly, unsure of the proper greeting. Happy to help. Though I still don't understand why you need a human geneticist. Vekthar's eyes shifted in what might have been concern. Come, I will show you. The laboratory was impressive. Screens covered every wall, showing data streams Taehyun couldn't begin to understand. Other aliens worked at various stations. Some looked almost human. Others were completely strange. In the center of the room sat a massive computer system, its lights blinking in complex patterns. We have been studying life on your planet, Vekthar explained, leading him to a workstation. Standard procedure when we encounter a new world. We catalog all species, map their genetic codes, understand their evolution. Sounds reasonable, Taehyun said, though the idea of aliens cataloging humanity made him uncomfortable. Yes, usually very simple, but with humans? Vekthar touched the screen. A DNA sequence appeared. We found something strange. Taehyun leaned closer. The sequence looked normal at first glance. Double helix, the familiar ATCG pattern. Then Vekthar zoomed in on a specific section, and Taehyun frowned. What am I looking at? A sequence approximately 200,000 base pairs long. It appears in every human we have tested. Every single one. No variation. Junk DNA, Taehyun said immediately. Humans have lots of non-coding sequences. Left over from evolution. That is what we thought, Vekthar agreed. But look at this. The alien pulled up another screen. We ran this sequence through our galactic database. Over 10,000 species from 5,000 worlds. Millions of genetic samples. And 0 matches. This sequence exists nowhere else in the known galaxy. Taehyun straightened. That's them unlikely. Genetic sequences get reused across species all the time. Basic building blocks of life? Exactly. Which is why we ran a deeper analysis. Vekthar brought up another display. This one showed mathematical patterns, probability curves, structural analysis. This sequence is not random. It contains patterns. Mathematical patterns. The room suddenly felt colder. Taehyun stared at the data. His mind raced through possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Random mutations didn't create mathematical patterns. Natural selection didn't produce identical sequences across an entire species with 0 variation. You're saying this was designed? He whispered. We are saying we do not know what this is. But yes, the evidence suggests artificial creation. That's impossible. This sequence would have to be millions of years old. It's integrated into human DNA at the deepest level, before modern humans even evolved. Yes, they stood in silence. Around them, other researchers continued their work, unaware of the conversation. Taehyun's hands trembled slightly. His entire career had been built on understanding human genetics. Now this alien was telling him that humanity carried something impossible in their cells. Who else knows about this? He asked. Only senior researchers. And now you, your ambassador Kyung-soo, has been informed. We agreed to keep this classified until we understand more. Good. If this gets out, there will be panic. Religious groups will call it proof of divine creation. Conspiracy theorists will have a field day. Vekthar made a gesture that might have been agreement. There is more you should see, come. They moved to a private lab. Vekthar locked the door behind them and pulled up another set of data. This time Taehyun saw images. Ancient ruins. Alien architecture that hurt to look at. All wrong angles and impossible geometry. These are archaeological sites, Vekthar explained. 3 different worlds. 3 different species. All extinct. What happened to them? We do not know. They were advanced civilizations. More advanced than my own species. Then suddenly, within a span of 50 years, they were gone. Nothing left but ruins. I don't understand. What does this have to do with human DNA? Vekthar's compound eyes fixed on him. In the sterile light of the lab, the alien looked ancient and tired. We found fragments of genetic code in those ruins. Preserved in their technology, their art, their records, the mathematical signature matches the sequence in human DNA. Taehyun grabbed the edge of the table to steady himself. You're telling me that 3 extinct alien civilizations carried the same genetic sequence that's in every human alive today? Yes. And they all went extinct? Yes. How long ago? The most recent was 800,000 years ago. The oldest over 3 million years. Taehyun felt sick. He thought about his daughter, dead at age 7 from a genetic disorder. He thought about all the humans on Earth going about their lives, unaware they were carrying something that might have destroyed 3 civilizations. He thought about the implications, the possibilities, the dangers. We need to understand what this sequence does, he said quietly. That is why you are here. My expertise is in alien biology. But I need someone who understands human genetics at a fundamental level, someone who can help me decode this. And if we find out it's dangerous, if this sequence is some kind of genetic time bomb? Vekthar was quiet for a long moment. Then we will face that decision when it comes. But first we must know the truth. That night Taehyun couldn't sleep. His quarters on the station were small but comfortable. Through the window he could see Earth rotating below, blue and green and beautiful. 7 billion humans down there, all carrying the same mysterious sequence. He pulled out his tablet and started reading the data Vekthar had shared. The more he read, the more disturbed he became. The sequence wasn't just dormant. It was locked, like a door with a complex mechanism, waiting for the right key. What would happen when that door opened? What was waiting on the other side? And most frightening of all, who had put it there? A message alert interrupted his thoughts. Commander Jiwoo, newly assigned as military liaison to the research station. She wanted to meet tomorrow morning. Apparently, Some people in the government were getting nervous about all this alien cooperation. Tae-hyun sent a brief reply confirming the meeting. Then he returned to staring at the genetic sequence on his screen. Somewhere in this code was an answer, a truth that had been hidden in humanity's cells for millions of years. He just hoped they could handle that truth when they found it. Commander Thren arrived exactly when Vekthar predicted. His ship was massive, crystalline, catching the light in ways that hurt human eyes. Tae-hyun watched from the observation deck as it docked with the station, bringing with it a sense of cold judgment. Thren himself was even more intimidating. His body looked like living crystal, transparent in places, showing what might have been organs or might have been something else entirely. Light passed through him in strange patterns. When he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass. "I have reviewed your reports," Thren said without preamble. The translation device struggled with his speech patterns. "The situation is worse than we feared." Ambassador Kyung-soo stood firm, though Tae-hyun could see the tension in his shoulders. "Commander, we're working to understand and control the activation process. Given time, we believe we can manage this safely. Time is exactly what you do not have." "How many cases now?" 157 confirmed, Ji-woo reported. "But we've contained the situation. No new incidents in the last 3 days. Because Vekthar stopped the genetic scans," Thren said. "But the damage is done. The sequence is already active in these individuals. It will spread." "We don't know that," Tae-hyun argued. "The activation seems to require external triggers. If we avoid those triggers, we might prevent further cases." Thren turned to look at him, and Tae-hyun felt like he was being examined under a microscope. "You are the human geneticist. Tell me honestly, can you guarantee this sequence will remain dormant without intervention?" Tae-hyun wanted to lie, wanted to say yes, buy more time, but he couldn't. "No, I can't guarantee that. Then humanity represents an unacceptable risk. I recommend immediate quarantine protocols. Earth will be isolated. No ships in or out. Any humans showing activation will be removed and contained." "That's imprisonment," Ji-woo said, her voice hard. "You're talking about trapping 7 billion people on their own planet. I am talking about preventing a catastrophe. 3 species before you activated this sequence. All 3 are extinct. The pattern is clear." "Maybe they didn't have help," Kyung-soo said. "Maybe that's the difference. We have the Quorum's knowledge, your technology. We're not alone in this." Before Thren could respond, alarms sounded throughout the station. Not emergency alarms, something else. A signal from the isolation unit where Haewon was being monitored. They rushed to the medical bay. Inside the isolation unit, Haewon floated 3 feet off the ground, surrounded by a faint blue glow. Her eyes were open but empty, looking at something beyond normal sight. The monitoring equipment had gone haywire, showing readings that made no sense. "She's entering stage 2. Vekthar breathed. "Quantum consciousness. She's existing in multiple states simultaneously." Tae-hyun tried the intercom. "Haewon?"
"Can you hear me?"
Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "I can hear everything. Every conversation in this station. Every thought. Every possibility branching from every decision you might make. It's overwhelming, beautiful, terrifying. You need to come back," Tae-hyun said. "Center yourself on this reality." "Why would I? Here I can see the outcomes. I know what Thren will do. I know what his superiors have already decided. Quarantine isn't enough. They want us gone, sterilized, erased from existence before we become a threat." Thren's crystalline form seemed to harden. "That information is classified. Not from me. Not anymore. I can see the orders coded into your ship's systems. The weapons locked on Earth's major cities. The timeline. 3 months to study us. Then elimination if we can't prove we're safe." Ji-woo's hand moved to her weapon. "You're here to kill us. I am here to protect the Quorum," Thren said coldly. "Just as you would protect your own people from a threat." "We're not a threat," Kyung-soo said desperately. "Give us a chance to prove it." Haewon drifted slowly back to the ground, the glow fading. When she opened her eyes again, they were normal. Human, exhausted. "I can prove it. I saw how. There's a way to control the activation, but I need more people like me, volunteers who are willing to go through the process." "Absolutely not," Thren said. "You want to create more activated humans? That's the opposite of solving this problem. It's the only way to solve it. The sequence is already active in over 100 people. More will activate spontaneously as time goes on. We can't stop it. But we can guide it, control it, make sure people go through the stages safely instead of burning out. Taehyun felt torn. Everything in his training said this was dangerous. But Haewon had a point. They couldn't put the genie back in the bottle. Maybe the only way forward was through. What would this program look like? He asked. Controlled activation with volunteers, medical monitoring, psychological support, teaching people how to handle the new abilities without losing themselves. I can help. I've been through it. I know what to expect. And when you create an army of superpowered humans? Thren asked. What stops them from deciding they don't need the rest of humanity? Or the quorum, the same thing that stops any group from turning on others. Ethics, community, understanding that we're all connected. Haewon's voice was tired but firm. I won't lie. Some people will abuse these abilities, but most won't. Most of us just want to live our lives. Luminari appeared again, their light form shimmering into existence. The girl speaks truth. Suppression never works. The architects learned this. The sequence will activate with or without your permission. Better to guide the process than fight it. And what happened to the architects? Thren demanded. If they were so wise, where are they now? They transcended, became beings of pure energy and thought. But first they fought. For millions of years they held back the devourers, sacrificed countless lives, made weapons like this sequence because there was no other choice. Weapons that destroyed 3 civilizations. No, the devourers destroyed those civilizations because they activated too quickly. Without guidance, without understanding, they burnt bright and fast, attracting attention before they could defend themselves. Humanity has a chance to do better. Thren was silent for a long moment, his crystalline body refracting the harsh station lights. Finally he spoke. I will present this proposal to the Quorum Council. You will have 3 months to demonstrate that humans can control this activation. If you fail, if there is even one incident of violence or loss of control, the quarantine order will be enacted immediately. And if the situation becomes critical, more permanent solutions will be implemented. That's not much time, Kyung-soo said. It's more than you deserve. Use it wisely. After Thren left, the room felt lighter, but the weight of responsibility had only grown heavier. Taehyun looked at Haewon through the observation window. She looked back and he saw in her eyes both the girl she had been and the something else she was becoming. Can we really do this? He asked Vekthar. Can we teach people to control this kind of power? I do not know, the alien scientist admitted. But I know that doing nothing guarantees failure. At least this way, there is a chance. Jiwoo checked her communications device. I need to report to Earth Command. They need to know about the deadline. And we need to start recruiting volunteers. Only stable individuals, Taehyun said. Psychological screening. Medical clearance. We can't afford mistakes. We can't afford to be too selective either, Kyung-soo countered. We need numbers. Proof that this can work on a larger scale. 20 volunteers, 30, enough to show a pattern. As they planned, Haewon sat alone in her isolation unit, feeling the changes continuing inside her. Stage 2 had been intense, but she could sense Stage 3 waiting. More power, more risk, more distance from the person she used to be. She wondered if the other species had felt this way, caught between fear and wonder, excited and terrified. She wondered if any of them had made it through, and she wondered what was really waiting at the end of this transformation. Power? Transcendence? Or just another form of extinction? Outside her window, Earth rotated peacefully, unaware that its entire future hung in the balance. 7 billion lives depending on whether a handful of people could learn to control something that had destroyed entire civilizations. No pressure at all. The activation facility in New Zealand looked nothing like a military base. It was designed to feel peaceful, with large windows showing mountains and ocean. But the security was absolute. Guards at every entrance, sensors monitoring everything. No one got in or out without multiple clearances. 23 volunteers had been selected from the 157 confirmed cases. They came from 12 different countries, different ages, backgrounds, professions. The only thing they had in common was the sequence in their DNA and a willingness to be guinea pigs. Taehyun met with each one individually. He needed to know them as people, not just as test subjects. Their fears, their hopes, their reasons for volunteering. Most wanted to help. Some wanted to understand what was happening to them. A few admitted they were drawn to the power. The possibilities, those last ones worried him most. Stage 1 activation in 3 minutes, a technician announced. The first volunteer, a woman named Bora from Seoul, lay on a medical bed surrounded by monitoring equipment. HFY stood beside her, holding her hand. Remember what I told you? Don't fight the sensation. Let it flow through you, like water finding its path. I'm scared, Bora whispered. Me too the first time. But you're stronger than you know. We all are. They triggered the activation sequence using carefully calibrated energy frequencies. Taehyun watched the displays, seeing Bora's brain activity spike. Her body tensed, eyes wide. Then slowly, carefully, she relaxed into it. 20 minutes later, Bora opened her eyes. They glowed faintly for a moment, then returned to normal. I can feel it, she said in wonder. Like a new sense. I can perceive electromagnetic fields. The equipment around us, the power lines in the walls. It's beautiful, success. The first controlled activation. Over the next week, 18 more volunteers completed Stage 1 safely. Their new abilities varied slightly. Some gained enhanced cognitive processing. Others developed electromagnetic sensitivity. One man could perceive radiation at a distance, but 3 volunteers had catastrophic reactions. The first seizured so badly they had to be sedated for 2 days. The second went catatonic, locked in their own mind. The third, a young man named Woo Jin, died. His heart simply stopped during activation, and nothing they did could restart it. Taehyun attended Woo Jin's memorial service via video link. The man's parents blamed him. They were right to. He had promised it would be safe. He had been wrong. We need to stop, he told Kyung-soo that night. The mortality rate is over 10%. That's unacceptable. Unacceptable compared to what? The ambassador asked. Thren's alternative is 100% mortality. For everyone. We keep going. At what cost? Whatever it takes. Because the alternative is the extinction of our entire species. 2 months into the program, things got worse. A group calling themselves the Ascendants launched attacks on 3 quorum research sites on Earth. They were led by a Stage 2 activated named Dalsu, who preached that the activation was humanity's destiny, and the quorum was trying to hold them back. Dalsu had activated outside the official program, using stolen quorum technology. His followers worshipped him, claimed he could see the future, move objects with his mind, heal with a touch. Some of it was real. Most was exaggeration. All of it was dangerous. We need to bring him in, Jiwoo said during the crisis meeting, before he kills someone. He already has killed someone, Vekthar corrected, showing images from the latest attack. 3 of my colleagues. They were unarmed researchers. The room fell silent. Violence had always been the line they couldn't cross. Now it had been crossed and everything changed. Thren will use this, Kyung-soo said quietly. He'll say we can't control our own people. Because we can't, Taehyun admitted. Dalsu is right about one thing. The activation gives power, and power corrupts. We were naive to think everyone would use it responsibly. So what do? Jiwoo asked. HFY spoke up. She had been quiet during most of the meeting, but now she looked determined. I'll stop him. Stage 3 gives me abilities he doesn't have. I can contain him. Stage 3? Taehyun felt panic rising. You said you weren't ready for that. The risks are too high. The risks of doing nothing are higher. Dalsu is planning something big. I can feel it. He wants to prove activated humans are superior. He wants war. How do you know this? Stage 2 gives me glimpses. Not clear visions, but impressions. He's going to attack the Quorum Council meeting next week. When all the ambassadors are gathered. It'll be a massacre. Vekthar stood abruptly. I must warn my government. No, Jiwoo said. If you tell them, Thren will cancel the meeting and implement quarantine immediately. We'll lose our chance to prove ourselves. You would risk the lives of the Council to protect your timeline. I'm risking the lives of 7 billion humans. The Council has security. If we tell them there's a threat, they can prepare without canceling. But if you trigger the quarantine now, it's over. For all of us. The alien scientist's compound eyes reflected internal conflict. Finally, she nodded. 3 days. You have 3 days to prepare. If Dalsu attacks and you cannot stop him, I will have no choice but to recommend immediate action against all activated humans. HFY Stage 3 activation happened that night. Taehyun insisted on being present, though he knew he couldn't help if something went wrong. He watched as she lay in the activation chamber, energy fields carefully calibrated around her. Initiating Stage 3 sequence. The technician announced. The transformation was violent. Heywan's body arced off the table, held only by the safety restraints. Her scream was not just sound, but something deeper, resonating in frequencies that made everyone's teeth ache. The lights flickered. Equipment sparked. Reality itself seemed to bend around her. Then suddenly stillness. Heywan lowered back to the table, breathing slowly. When she opened her eyes, they glowed with steady light. She raised one hand and a small sphere of matter formed above her palm. Not energy. Actual matter created from nothing. Atomic manipulation, Taehyun breathed. You're rearranging matter at the molecular level. Yes, I can also perceive quantum probabilities. See the branching paths of what might happen. It's like stage 2 but clearer, more controlled. She closed her hand and the sphere vanished. But it's also exhausting. I can't maintain this for long. Then we use it carefully, only when necessary. Against Dalsu it will be necessary. The Quorum Council meeting took place in a grand hall on the lunar station. Ambassadors from 47 species gathered to discuss the human question. Security was tight, but Dalsu had abilities that made conventional security useless. He appeared in the center of the hall like a god, materializing through some quantum trick that Taehyun didn't understand. 7 followers materialized with him, all stage 1 or stage 2 activated, all armed, all willing to die for their leader's vision. Honored ambassadors, Dalsu announced, his voice carrying unnatural power. You debate whether humanity should be allowed to ascend. But we are already ascending. We are already beyond your understanding, and we will not be caged. He raised his hand and 3 security guards collapsed, their nervous systems overloaded. Panic erupted. Ambassadors fled for the exits. Thren's crystalline form hardened into weapon mode. But Dalsu was faster, blasting him backward with a wave of force. Then Heywan stepped forward. Stop, she said simply. Dalsu turned, surprise crossing his face. You, the Council's pet weapon. Come to stop your own kind? You're not my kind. You're a murderer using our abilities to justify violence. I'm a visionary. Humanity's potential is limitless. We could rule galaxies. But they want to keep us weak, controlled, afraid, and they want to keep us alive. There's a difference. Dalsu attacked, and the battle was like nothing anyone had seen. Energy against matter, probability against force. The 2 activated humans fought across multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their conflict visible as reality-warping effects that made observers sick to watch. But Dalsu was stage 2. Heywan was stage 3. She saw his attacks before he made them, countered moves that hadn't happened yet. When the end came, it was swift and terrible. Heywan disintegrated him, not with violence but with precision. She simply unmade the bonds holding his atoms together. One moment he was there, flesh and blood and dangerous power. The next he was dust scattered by the ventilation systems. His followers surrendered immediately. In the silence that followed, every eye in the hall turned to Heywan. She stood trembling, exhausted, horrified by what she had done. She had just killed someone, made them cease to exist with a thought. The power was intoxicating and sickening in equal measure. Thren pulled himself up from where he had fallen. His voice rang out clear. This is what I warned you about. Humans with the power of gods using it to destroy each other. How long before they turn that power on us? Kyung-soo tried to speak, but Thren overrode him. The demonstration period is over. I am implementing quarantine protocols immediately. All activated humans will be detained. Earth will be sealed. This discussion is finished. No, Heywan said quietly. Everyone stopped. She raised her head, meeting Thren's gaze. You can't quarantine us. You can't cage us. You saw what one stage 2 could do. I'm stage 3. There are people working toward stage 4 and beyond. You don't have the power to contain us. None of you do. Then you leave us no choice but war. There's always a choice. Let us finish. Wait, the deadline arrived with surgical precision. Thren's fleet materialized in Earth orbit exactly 72 hours before the agreed-upon date. 300 warships, their weapon systems visible even from the ground. Anyone with a telescope could see them. Anyone with eyes could see humanity's judgment hanging in the sky. Taehyun stood in the observation deck of the lunar station, watching the fleet position itself. Each ship was a reminder of failure. They had been given time to prove humans could control the activation. They had managed an 89% success rate among volunteers. Respectable by any scientific standard, not good enough to prevent extinction. They're not here to negotiate, Jiwoo said, reviewing tactical data. Look at the formation. These aren't observation positions. They're attack positions, weapons already charging. We knew this was coming, Kyung-soo said, though he looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 months. Thren made his decision before he ever gave us the deadline. This was always the outcome. Then we fight, Jiwoo said simply. With what? Taehyun gestured at the fleet. They could sterilize the planet from orbit. Our weapons are toys compared to theirs. Even with activated humans, we're outmatched. Not if we have someone at Stage 7. They all turned to Haiwan. She sat apart from the group, eyes closed, already half existing in other states of reality. Since reaching Stage 3, she had been preparing for this moment. The moment when humanity's survival would rest entirely on her shoulders. Stage 7 is theoretical, Taehyun said. No one has ever survived past Stage 4. The 3 extinct civilizations, they never got past Stage 5 before they destroyed themselves. Maybe they didn't have proper guidance, Haewon said, opening her eyes. They glowed constantly now, even when she tried to suppress it. Luminari has been teaching me, showing me what to expect at each stage. I can do this, you could die. You probably will die. Better one death than 7 billion, Taehyun wanted to argue, wanted to find another way. But he looked at the fleet surrounding Earth and knew there was no other way. They had run out of options. Out of time, out of hope except for this one desperate gamble. If we do this, there's no going back. You won't be human anymore, not in any way that matters. I stopped being human at Stage 2, Haewon said sadly. I've been grieving that loss for weeks, but maybe that's okay. Maybe humanity needs to become something more to survive. Vekthar entered the observation deck, moving with unusual urgency. Thren has transmitted his ultimatum, 48 hours to surrender all activated humans and submit to genetic modification that will permanently disable the sequence. If we refuse, they begin orbital bombardment of major population centers. Genetic modification, Taehyun repeated. They're talking about sterilization, making sure the sequence can never activate in future generations. Yes, it would be the end of human potential. You would be locked at your current evolutionary level forever. But we'd be alive, would you? Truly alive? Or just existing? Knowing you had surrendered your future out of fear. The question hung in the air. Kyung-soo broke the silence. I need to consult with Earth governments. This isn't a decision I can make alone. There's no time, Haewon said. I can feel it. The Devourers are close. They're drawn to the activation energy. If I don't reach Stage 7 soon, they'll manifest before I'm ready. And then everyone dies anyway. Devourers, Jiwoo asked. The things Luminari mentioned? The real threat? The reason the architects created the sequence in the first place. They're coming. I can hear them scratching at the walls between dimensions, hungry. So hungry. Luminari appeared, their form flickering with strain. The girl speaks truth. A devourer has sensed the activation energy. It approaches now. Minutes, not hours. Then we're out of time for debate, Taehyun said. He looked at Haewon, really looked at her, seeing not just the weapon she was becoming, but the young student she had been. I'm sorry. I'm sorry we're asking this of you. Don't be. I chose this. Now help me finish it. The acceleration chamber was designed for slow, careful progression through activation stages. Now they were going to push through stages 4, 5, 6, and 7 in less than an hour. Every safety protocol would be bypassed. Every limitation removed. Haewon would either transcend or die. No middle ground. Stage 4 initiating, the technician announced, voice shaking. Haewon's body began to phase in and out of normal space. She was learning to manipulate space-time directly, folding distances, accessing parallel possibilities. Her screams echoed across multiple dimensions. Stage 5. Omniscience within a limited radius. She could perceive everything within a light year simultaneously. Every atom, every thought, every quantum fluctuation. The information overload was staggering. Blood ran from her nose, her ears, her eyes. She's dying, Taehyun said, moving toward the chamber. Luminari blocked him. She is transforming. There is a difference. Continue. Stage 6. Haewon's physical form became translucent. She was more energy than matter now, barely holding herself in this reality. She could perceive the higher dimensions clearly. The vast geometries, the impossible colors, and there, lurking in the spaces between, she saw it. The devourer, it was hunger-given form. A void that consumed consciousness, leaving only emptiness behind. It had destroyed the 3 civilizations. Eaten their souls, their thoughts, their very potential, and now it was coming for humanity. Stage 7. Now. The transformation was instant and complete. HFY stopped being a person and became a force of nature. Her consciousness expanded to fill multiple dimensions simultaneously. She was everywhere and nowhere, human and something far beyond human, individual and infinite. The Devourer manifested in Earth's orbit and reality buckled. Thren's fleet scrambled, weapons firing uselessly at something they couldn't properly perceive. The entity was wrong in every way. Looking at it induced madness. Sensors failed trying to measure it, but HFY could see it perfectly. More than that, she could fight it. The battle happened across 7 dimensions simultaneously. To those watching from normal space, it appeared as reality-warping chaos. Mountains moved. Oceans boiled. The sky tore open to reveal geometries that hurt to perceive. Lightning that wasn't lightning. Thunder that was something screaming in frequencies beyond sound. HFY fought with weapons that had no names. She folded space to trap the Devourer, manipulated time to attack from multiple moments at once, reached into higher dimensions to strike at its core. The Devourer fought back with pure entropy, trying to unmake her at the fundamental level. For 37 minutes the battle raged. 37 minutes that felt like eternity to those experiencing it. Taehyun watched helplessly, knowing that if HFY lost, everything ended. Not just humanity. The entire region of space would become a dead zone, consciousness erased from existence, then suddenly silence. The Devourer was gone, banished back to whatever hellish space between spaces it had come from. HFY remained hovering in orbit, a being of pure light and consciousness. Slowly, carefully, she condensed herself back into something resembling human form. But she was changed. Fundamentally, irrevocably changed. She appeared on the lunar station's bridge, stepping out of nowhere. Everyone flinched back except Taehyun, who stepped forward. HFY? Yes and no. I'm still me, but I'm also so much more. I can see everything now. The past, the future, the endless branching possibilities. I understand what the architects were trying to do. Why they made us, why? He asked. Because someone has to stand guard. Someone has to protect normal space from what lurks in the higher dimensions. We're not weapons. We're guardians. And there are more Devourers out there. So many more. This was just one, the smallest one. The implications crashed over everyone. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Thren's voice came over the communication system. What was that thing? What did we just witness? The reason you should be grateful humans are activating, Jiwoo said with grim satisfaction. The reason you need us, not the other way around. Explain. HFY spoke directly into every ship's communication system simultaneously. You've been blind to the real threat. The Devourers exist in dimensions you can't perceive. They feed on consciousness, on sentient thought. Your species, all the species in the quorum, your prey. You've just been lucky they haven't noticed you yet. And humans can stop them? Activated humans can. We exist in multiple dimensions. We can perceive them, fight them, hold them back. That's what we were designed for. Not to threaten you, but to protect you. Long silence. Then Thren spoke again, his voice different, uncertain for the first time. The fleet will withdraw, but this conversation is not over. The Quorum Council needs to discuss this new information. Good, Vecthar said, because there is much to discuss. We have been blind, arrogant. We thought we understood the galaxy. We were wrong. As the fleet began to depart, Taehyun approached HFY. She looked at him, and he saw in her eyes the vast distances she now contained. She was still the girl who had come to his research station, but she was also something that could perceive the fundamental structure of reality. Can you come back? He asked quietly. Can you be human again even for a moment? Sometimes. For short periods. But it gets harder each time. I'm B.